So here how to Srila Rupa Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis who spent most of their time in Vrindavan, compiling these Vedic literatures. And if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is mention about Srila Rupa Goswami's past life, and Srila Prabhupada, he has also recorded those pastimes in the Nectar of Devotion, where he explains that Sri Rupa and Sanatan, who belong to the Brahmin family from Karnataka, India, and they were serving as the finance minister and chief minister in the Nawab Hussain Shah's ministry. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his way to Vrindavan, he was going to Ramkeli, Maldah, that's a province in West Bengal. And when they came to know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going on this way, so they wanted to meet. And in disguise, they came to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there, they got the inspiration to join in Mahaprabhu's movement. Later on, as we know, they joined. So one time when they were in Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Puri. So in Puri, he received instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as well as in the Saswamed Ghat, Benares. That's also in India. And for 10 days, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave instruction to Srila Rupa Goswami in the science of Krishna consciousness, especially Bhakti Tattva. And after receiving his instructions, Srila Rupa Goswami, he compiled those instructions into the books in form of Nectar of Instruction, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is called Nectar of Devotion, Lalit Madhav, Vidagdha Madhav, and many other books. And Srila Rupa Goswami is known as Rasika Acharya. He is famous for taking a deep dive into the amorous, loving devotion of Radha and Krishna. So in that way, he is a deep devotee of the Sringara Rasa of Radha and Krishna. And he not only speak about these high topics, about the confidential topics between Radha and Krishna, but being an eternal associate of Krishna, who is Rupa Manjari, right? He also has thought of the new sadhakas like us. How can we progress in our Krishna consciousness? So, keeping in mind about the new sadhakas, which was also the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that in this age of Kali, how to deliver the fallen and conditioned souls from the clutches of this material existence, and that he aspired to give the highest form of devotional service that he himself practiced and taught us. So the same was instructed to Srila Rupa Goswami. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami has compiled basically these 2 literatures, Nectar of Instruction and Nectar of Devotion, where he discusses about the loving devotional service, starting from the basic and bringing them up to the achieving highest platform of devotional service. that is unto the attainment of love of God, Prema Bhakti. So here in Nectar of Instruction, you will find he will first speak about how a sadhaka should start his Krishna consciousness by controlling the six urges. Then gradually he avoids the unfavorable situations, accepts the favorable situations, then go on and on. He's speaking about the different levels of devotees, Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. And then the highest realm of devotional service to be practiced on the bank of Radha Kund. So like that, he is kind of starting from a very basic and then bringing us through to the highest level of Krishna consciousness. So that's a very systematic approach he has given. So in that way, Sri Rupa Goswami have been recognized amongst our Vaishnava Acharyas as Sri Chaitanya Manohishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamayhim Dadam Supadantikam. So Sri Rupa Goswami plays a very unique role when it comes to distributing the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Manohishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale on this earth planet. He is the one who came to establish the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when that Srila Rupa Goswami will give me the shade of his lotus feet. So in that way, we understand Srila Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, who is constantly engaged in serving Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. And here he has come to give us the principles of sadhana bhakti, how we can also attain the lotus feet of Shri Radha and Krishna. In Nectar of Devotion, he speaks about pure devotional service, Shuddha Bhakti. What is the definition of pure devotional service? Anya bhilasita sunyam jnana karma janabritam anukullena krishnanu shilanam bhakti rukkama. Uttam Bhakti have been characterized as that practice which is devoid of jnana and karma. Jnana here refers to the impersonal knowledge or the knowledge that is aiming at becoming one with the Supreme. And karma means fruitive activities. So those practices which entails pure devotional service must be devoid of such kind of practice of karma and jnana. And anukullena krishnanusha. But when we speak about these things, then naturally one thing comes to our mind. Well, in this age of Kali, शोकामर्षादिभिर्भावै आक्रान्तं यस्य मानसः कथं तस्य मुकुन्दस्य स्फूर्ति संभावना भवेत्. There is a verse from Padma Purana. Shokamarshadibhibhavai akranta. When one's heart is invaded with lamentation, anger, and other agitations. Soka amarsa. Soka means lamentation. Amarsa means krodha, anger. Adi means other agitations. When one's heart is infested with these things, lamentation, anger, and other agitations, then katham tasya mukundasya swarti sambhavana bhavet. How can such a person feel the presence of Mukunda in his heart? So if you think about a person in this age of Kali, almost all of us, right? We are always suffering because of lamentation, anger, and so forth, last anger. So then, when he speaks about this pure devotional service in Nectar of Devotion, so what is the possibility that one can practice such devotion. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami has come up with a solution. See, this is called Acharya. When they give something for the sadhakas, they also think about the challenges also that we may be facing with. Rupa Goswami understands these are the natural challenges faced by the entities of this age of Kali. So how they're going to practice this pure devotional service? No, I have to give them some solution. So what is the solution? The solution is given in the Nectar of Instruction. Therefore, starting with first verse, he is speaking the need of controlling the 6 urges, right? So here we can see this. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also he has spoken about. Rupa Goswami collected the essence of all the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and offered it as a gift to the genuine sadhakas. You can imagine. So if you genuinely want to progress in Krishna consciousness, then this is the book, Shivapada Samrita. Prabhupada, he writes, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left behind him the 8 verses known as Sikshastakam. Every morning we chant in the morning now. Cetadarpana Marjanam, these verses. Rupa Goswami gave us Upadesamrita so that we may become pure Vaishnavas. So those who are aspiring to become pure devotees of the Lord, pure Vaishnavas, then this Upadesamrita should be the object of meditation from the beginning. It can help us actually. So, can somebody read this?
Nectar of Instruction has come out very nice. It's very important and must be used by all devotees. In the near future, we shall introduce the Bhakti Shastri examination for second initiation, and this shall be one of the required books of study. Anyone who reads it will immediately understand what Krishna consciousness is. Later comes to Prabhupada.
Originally, this book was written in Sanskrit by Srila Rupa Goswami. And then when it came to the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave a commentary on this called Piyusha Varshini, Sour of Nectar. Then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also gave another commentary called Anuvritti Bhashya. But all these bhashyas were not in English. Okay. So then, for the first time in 1975, Srila Prabhupada, he translated it into English. He made it available for all of us. And then he's saying now it is available and it should be one of the books to be studied in Bhakti Shastri. That time he knew. And this is so precious book actually, that anyone who wishes to grow in Krishna consciousness, they must study this book. Without the help of this literature, it will be very difficult for a sadhaka to find his way out from this material world. So therefore, we are also studying Nectar of Instruction in our Bhakti Shastri. So today we're going to begin. So this is the kind of an overview. You can see preface and text number 1, which is the subject matter of study for today. There we'll be speaking about Krishna conscious control of 6 urges mainly, right? Sadvega Daman. Then text number 2 and 3, 6 favorable and 6 unfavorable activities. Text number 4 deals with 6 kinds of loving exchanges. 5 and 6, attitudes to our devotees, Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttamadhikari Vaishnavas. Then 7 and 8, accelerating spiritual advancement, 9 through 11, the highest stage, and conclusion. So, in the preface, okay, let us not, we know this, there's no need to go through this. Okay. The Prabhupada writes in the preface. Have you read the preface before coming to this class? Okay. So we are expecting you to read before coming to the class. Anyway, today if you have not read, then what to do? You can't do anything about it. So here, this is making a problem. Okay. The Krishna consciousness movement is conducted under the supervision of Srila Prabhu Goswami. Therefore, we are called Rupanugas, because we are following the path given to us by Srila Prabhu Goswami. And here Prabhupada is saying under the direct supervision of Srila Prabhu Goswami. So that means when we study this book, we will know how it is being conducted under the supervision of Srila Prabhu Goswami. Can you read this?
Going from so as Upa Goswami is following predecessor, so we have to follow our predecessors.
So who are predecessors? Ours? Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Yeah, immediately Prabhupada. Of course, our spiritual master, they are kind of immediate acharya, then predecessor acharya comes Prabhupada, Dr. Sri Thakur. So that means when we read these books, or when you are asked to speak in a Bhagavatam class, you are not meant to concoct. What have been said by the previous acharyas, you just speak about those subject matter. If you are just simply concocting and making a story of your own to entertain the audience in the class, then you are not Rupanuga. You are your mind Anuga. You are following your own mind. So that is not good actually. Therefore, Anuga means following. What is the meaning of following? Following means you follow when you speak. That is important thing. And whatever behavior you practice, your behavior should be in accordance with the dictations given by the predecessor acharyas. Then you follow them. Many times we have seen, even in our organization also today, devotees, they have manufactured their way of practice, their way of explaining Krishna consciousness by quoting under so-called modern age change. We need to adjust according to time, place, and circumstances. It's a very, very common term often used by our devotees in the movement, the time, place, and circumstance. As if time is so small, according to their calculation. Time, what does it mean by time? Like, for example, if you say, like, there are 4 bona fide Vaishnava acharyas, right? Sampradaya. Ramanujacharya, he is the acharya for Sri Sampradaya. Do you think they are changing Ramanujacharya's statement now? No, they don't change. So time is not this small, be very vast time scale. So that is the point. Prabhupada, he has given, it's not that like, for a few years, then after that you keep on changing according to time changes. What do you mean by time change? An Acharya comes for 10,000 years, like here Prabhupada saying, my words are for next 10,000 years. This is the time span. And before this 10,000 year completes, now you are thinking according to time, place, and circumstance. We need to keep adjusting the teachings. No, this is mistake. So therefore, during these 10,000 years of our study, we need to just follow what Prabhupada has given to us, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur has given to us, Thakur has given to us, without deviating from their teachings. Then you are perfectly Rupanuga. Otherwise, we are creating our own organization within the organization. That is what Prabhupada didn't want. That's why we are studying these books. See, so Prabhupada was instructed by Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur to study all these books. And Prabhupada, he kind of, established this organization being inspired by Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is saying, right? I'm right there with you at all time. You just go, distribute this message of Godhead. So you can see there's a deep connection between our organization and Srila Rupa Goswami. Prabhupada was directly ordered by Srila Rupa Goswami in Radha Damodar Temple. So here in preface, Prabhupada writes, advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. So how does one's attitude affects one's advancement in Krishna consciousness? I'm asking the question, how does one's attitude affects one's advancement in Krishna consciousness?
So if we, like you just make it like modern age. So try not to follow as a Rupanuga, and we follow our own the mind created something. So then our advancement actually is not going to be progress.
Okay, yes, Prabhu.
I think like, what are the intentions? Like, for example, if I join ISKCON, but intentions are to get fame name. So then my attitude is something else. I'm not here to get the goal or to get Krishna Prema. I'm just thinking that, oh, he will say, oh, I am Das, some Prabhu, something like that. So maybe that is the attitude, wrong attitude of joining. That's how it hampers the advancement.
Okay, he spoke about the negative part of the attitude. Yes.
Positive part of the attitude means that person needs to first of all, to advance means to be in a position of a student, and that takes conscious deliberation. So person gets himself attitude as he understands himself as a student, that he is ready to learn from others, then he can advance. Otherwise,
should be a perfect follower. The attitude should be following. Good. Otherwise, what happens? Like we keep on creating our own, way of practicing, and then that attitude is definitely going to get us deviated from the right.
Like no mental speculation, and whatever is strictly said in the book, we have to follow it like, and we have to follow as a serpent of serpent. Then we can we only just read the book, but nothing to follow. But whatever say, we have to follow as a serpent, and we have to follow strictly, no leniency. Like, oh, what is it? I have to do it. But whatever say, I have to follow very seriously. And then I can advancement of Krishna consciousness and as a good attitude, as a sadhana.
I was thinking part of it has to do with desire. A week ago, in Bhagavatam classes, where the speakers are talking about desire. Desire is the only thing that we actually have control over. The actual potency that the jiva has control over is the desire. and also how our desire, right? By desiring something enough, we'll actually get it. So if we have the correct attitude, if we actually desire to become a pure devotee, then we take up the process, then actually then we can become a pure devotee. If we maintain the correct.
How do you judge the attitude of a person? How can you see attitude in a person? How does it reflect?
Submissiveness.
Submissiveness, okay. Humility.
Very humble, always, but they don't, if somebody criticizes about them, or then they don't even care. Everything they take it as a Krishna's blessings. Very humble.
That is one positive side of the attitude. You all are talking about the positive side. Sometimes some people are very rude, right? You go to them, you talk to them, they're not ready to kind of listen to anything. They're not in a mood of help, to serve. There's also a kind of an attitude they have developed. Because of our conditioned nature in this world, we tend to be in a situation where we are giving more importance to our me and mine concept. And that gives a wrong attitude. So when Prabhupada is speaking about attitude of a person, what he is talking about? He's talking about mainly the principles to be followed in Krishna conscious practice. Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of a person. It's not that our kind of thinking process is evolving around concept of me and mine. No, that concept is not there. Then only you can see we can grow in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, you can see here from Oxford Dictionary, we have taken the meaning, a settled way of thinking or feeling. How can one be on the settled way of thinking and feeling? When he follows the acharyas. Therefore, we have to see how we can do that as a clue. So Prabhupada writes, a follower of Krishna consciousness movement should become a perfect Goswami. Go means senses. Swami means controller. One who controls the senses, he is a Goswami. So that means, Srila Prabhupada, he writes, and to do that, one need to be systematically trained, educated in the science of Krishna consciousness. So the education is going to help us cultivate the perfect attitude, which will help us to become a better Vaishnava day by day. Otherwise, we will be cultivating wrong attitude. So a follower in Krishna consciousness movement should become a perfect Goswami. So the Goswami Prabhupada discusses in the later part of this book. We will see that. Yes, Tulsi Prabhu.
If you percentage-wise, you have to say how much percent of our advancement comes from our corporation. What percentage?
Me?
How important is that in the whole?
For me, it is 100%. Attitude means you have learned to practice your Krishna conscious principles. That's why Prabhupada saying it depends on the attitude of a person. If your attitude is mixed with material modes, that means your progress is very limited. If it is not mixed with the material modes and you are having a pure practice, then your progress is 100%. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying the attitude of a person. Many times our devotee, they quote this. That is kind of, what do you say? If you don't have good qualities, this attitude means you're cultivating. When I asked the attitude, everybody started speaking humility, all these qualities of a Vaishnava. So these 26 qualities of the Vaishnava, they are reflecting in the positive attitude of a sadhaka. And that brings success in our Krishna consciousness. If we are not having this good attitude, then we are not practicing Krishna consciousness fully. That means we are not following the rules and regulations. That means we are not following the qualities of a Vaishnava, practicing the qualities of a Vaishnava. Then we are not progressing in Krishna consciousness. That means everything is evolved around our attitude in Krishna consciousness. If we don't have that right attitude, we will be committing offenses to the Vaishnavas. And that, why did I say that? Because when we commit offenses because of cultivating wrong attitude, then that's it. That will stunt the growth of our Bhakti Lata Bij. Jadi Vaishnava Paralta Hatimata Upareva Chindetar Shuki Jai Pata. Therefore, attitude is very, very important in Krishna consciousness. That's what I understand.
So that means in simple words, attitude means following the rules and regulations and principles of Krishna consciousness. Whatever practices they have given us, we should just follow that.
That's what he says. No, depends on the attitude of a person, advancement in Krishna consciousness. That means if we are not following it 100%, then accordingly to that degree only you will kind of get the result. But if it is 100%, then we get 100% return. Attitude of non-devotee. Tell me in particular what? Swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim bindanti manava. Bhagavad Gita says. You have to work. As long as you continue to stay in this world, you have to go to work, you have to mix with the worldly people also. But as a sadhaka, you know how to behave in what circumstance. How much you should expose yourself and how much you should keep yourself covered in those situations. You are not there to kind of take from them. Whatever they rubbish things say or eat, you're going to share with them? No. You are very reserved. You know what to do, what not to do. So in that way, in terms of dealing with the outsiders, we need to be smart enough to understand where is the danger for me in my Krishna conscious practice. Then bhakti pratikul bhav varjanangika, that you should avoid. It doesn't necessarily mean that you always going to hurt other people. Without hurting other people, you can still avoid them.
Because sometimes you can show.
One final thing is maybe with these same attitudes outside at work, like even Krishna consciousness.
As I said, devotees are clever enough to keep themselves hidden, not revealing their own self to a karmic situation. Karmic life is karmic life, but we know how much to extend ourselves in what situation. We don't have to reveal our personal life to a group of karmic people. What I eat, how I live my life, how I spend my money, what I do, these are kind of my personal things. Anyway.
One time I asked my Guru Maharaj one question. I asked the Guru Maharaj, I said, Guru Maharaj, a lot of people criticize about my daughter. What to do? So Guru Maharaj, I explained to everything. So my Guru Maharaj said, just you told us, avoid that. Not open your mouth, not say anything. They will suffer their cause. But if you do anything you say come up in your mouth, you will take their sin. But avoid them and stay away from them. Don't say anything.
You got it?
Yeah, he told us. He
Okay.
gave us advice.
Thank you.
Advice.
Thank you for confirming. Yeah, we have to kind of whatever we said should be in alignment with our acharyas, what they teach us. Okay, so Now, let us read this. Okay. So, Srila Rupa Goswami gave us this Upasamrita to guide our activities in Krishna consciousness, so that we may become Goswamis. That means we can become pure Vaishnavas. And then in that way, we can make our life successful in Krishna consciousness. So now, to begin with the first verse, you have your handbook with you, Prabhu and Mataji? Yes. You know how many verses you need to memorize in this? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are very, very important verses. Tulsi Prabhu, you are coordinator, right? You are coordinating this program. Are you taking the verses? Yeah. Who is that? This message. Where is she now? No, she's coming. Huh?
She came for issue.
Submission.
But she was online mostly, but
Today. Okay. Okay, so then Glycaria will take only there 2 Matajis. Okay, you can give to her. And Prabhus can give to Tulsi Prabhu. You know how to give these verses. You have to spell the Sanskrit correctly. And when it comes to translation, you can give your own translation. Means not that you make a new translation, not that verbatim. You can change your words, but the essence should be what Prabhupada is speaking. Yeah, in your own language. Okay. Bacho begam manasah krodha begam. Juha begam udaropastha begam. Etan began jo visaheta dhiraha. Sarvamapi mam prithivim sasishyat. Bacho begam manasah krodha begam. Juha begam udaropastha begam. Etan began yo visaheta dhiraha. Sarvamapi mam prithivim sasishyat. Bacho begam manasah krodha begam. Juha begam udaropastha begam. Etan began yo visaheta dhiraha. Sarvamapi mam prithivim sasishyat. So here, Bacho. Bacho means Bacha. The whole Prabhuji. You can sit about, you can stand, you can sleepy. Bacho Begam. Urge to, Bego means urge. Okay. And Bacho Begam, urge to speak. See, Bacho means of speech. Then urge, Begam. Begam is coming many times here. So if you know the meaning of the Sanskrit words, like Bacho means speech, Mana is mind, right? Krodha, anger. Juha is tongue. Then Udara is belly. Upastha is genital. So there are 6 urges described here. Urge to speak, the agitation of the mind, anger, urge of the tongue, then belly and genitals. Jo Visaheta Dhira, one who can tolerate the urge of these 6 things. Then what happens? Dhira, he is a sober person and he is qualified to accept disciples all over the world. Or you can say, here disciple means it can be referred to Shiksha Guru also, not necessarily Diksha Guru. Those who are instructing spiritual master also, they can instruct the whole world if they have controlled these 6 urges. This is the understanding, this is the meaning. And so that means, okay, let us read the translation. Can you read, somebody?
A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, the belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Okay. Prabhu, what is your name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. Jimmy. Okay. You can follow this verse. Can you read this verse? Just Sanskrit.
Vegam manasa pradavegam vavegam ananopastvegam etan vegan yovisaheta dhira sarvamapi mam prithivim shashishya.
Can you correspond to the Sanskrit with the English translation, like what English translation is coming here? All this then is corresponding to this Sanskrit.
So vacha of speech, vegam urge, manasa of the mind, krodha of anger, vegam urge, jiva of the tongue, vegam urge, vidurapasta of the belly and genitals, vegam urge, etan yeast, vegan urge, yo whatever, vishaheta intolerate, hira sober, sarvam all, apimam certain, this prithivim world, sa this personality, shishyat can make disciples.
So that means here etan vegan. Etan is plural number. Means there are many. What are those many? Vacha vegam, mana vegam, krodha vegam, juha vegam, udara vegam, and etan vegam. One, a sober person. Sober person means who is not inclined towards impersonal philosophy, who is not inclined to just get things for material sense gratification, or one who may be practicing yoga, but he is not inclined to get only perfections in yoga. This person actually, that is us. We are not engaged in some karma kanda activities to get our material desire fulfilled. Neither are we thinking to become one with the Lord, practicing impersonal philosophy. Nor do we desire to attain any perfection in yoga practice, right? So he is a sober person. That means he is pure practitioner of personal consciousness. Savanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasham, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedana. He is a sober person actually. You all are sober persons. But here the thing is, who can control such a sober person, who can control the urge to speak, the mind's demand, action of anger, and the urge of tongue, belly, and genital. Tongue, belly, and genital, they are in straight line. That is the demand of the body actually. You can see the speech. So Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Thakur, he divides into 3. Urge to speak, urge of the mind, and the demand of the body. And this anger comes under mind actually. Okay? Because when mind is not satisfied, right? In Upanishad, it is said there are 10 functions of mind. Kama, Sankalpa, Vichikitsa, or Kama, Sankalpa, Sandeha. This Kama is desire. So when desires are not satisfied, then anger arises, right? Kama is a Krodha, Rajaguna, Samudra. So in that way, that anger can also be included in the action of the mind's demand, you can say. And then these three urges of tongue, belly, and genitals, they are coming at the demands of the body. So that means one who has successfully controlled the urge of the body, speech, and mind, he is qualified to instruct the people of the whole world. He can accept disciples in that way. So, who is that person? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually explains, this is actually referred to by Madhyamadhikari Vaishnava. Madhyamadhikari Vaishnava, and especially maybe in the platform of Sannyasi, Tridandi Goswami. Even there is a commentator whose name is Radharaman Goswami. While commenting on this verse, he said, this is for the Grihasthas. Those who are in Grihastha life, they should, this instruction for them. That means, according to him, those who are in the renounced order of life, they have already surpassed this stage. His expectation is even higher. You know? So anyway, so the point is, a sadhaka who is practicing Krishna consciousness, he should have controlled these 6 urges. Now the question comes, is it necessarily these are the angas of bhakti? What do you think? Are these practices are angas of bhakti? Huh?
You said angas means part of the.
Angas means like Navadha bhakti. There are 9 limbs of devotional service, right? Similarly, are these considered the limbs of devotional service?
These are always linked. You cannot continue.
Okay, yes, Prabhuji, please. Correct. These are not angas of bhakti. These are not the part of devotional service. This is giving us a way. This is allowing us to enter, or it's qualifying us to come to the platform realm of bhakti. This is, yes, this is prerequisite, you can say, even. It is helping us. Like, for example, Sattva-guna. What does Sattva-guna do? It opens the door to the realm of bhakti. It's not actually devotional service. Sattva-guna. When you are in this devotional Sattva-guna, that means you are kind of, in the platform of devotional service. No, it is actually helping you to enter into the realm of bhakti. So similarly, these practices, when one successfully controls these urges, it opens the doorway to bhakti. That's why you can imagine how important it is in the life of a sadhaka. If this is not practiced properly, then door is closed. That means we cannot enter into the realm of practicing bhakti.
Even though those are prerequisites, but still when we get in the bhakti, still we need it.
Already you have surpassed this at that time. According to our acharyas, you are already kind of surpassed. That's why I said, according to Radharaman Goswami, he said those who are Tridandi Goswamis, they are already kind of from beyond this. We don't talk about them. According to his understanding. Maybe we are so fallen, we are not in that situation. That's our problem. That's why you are thinking like that. But when acharyas talk, they talk about the principles. Okay. So, yes. Therefore, one who is practicing devotional service, automatically this will be kind of achieved. Like karmis and jnanis, what do? In their practice, they are taught to artificially control these urges. But in devotional service, Krishna consciousness, we don't have separately kind of asking you to practice some asana, pranayama process so that you can control your anger. or control the urge of the tongue, belly, and genitals. We don't teach necessarily any kind of such practices, right? Anyone comes, okay, from the day one, you start chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You honor Krishna Prasadam. And before honoring Krishna Prasadam, you must chant what? Hare Krishna. Prayer. What is that prayer? Beginning? Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Salpa Punya Vatang Rajan Vishwasa Naiva Jayate. After that comes Sarira Vidya Chaldarendra Kahata. So all these things are taught. What is the meaning of this prayer? Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Salpa Punya Vatang Rajan Vishwasa Naiva Jayate. Those who are Salpa Punya Vatta, those who have very little pious credit, they don't have faith on Mahaprasade and the remnants of the Supreme Lord, Mahaprasade, Govinda, Supreme Lord, Govinda, and Nama, and his holy name. There is no, they are actually Brahman. Krishna is Brahman, his Mahaprasadam, and his holy name, they are all Brahman. You have this faith. And then when you honor this, Sarira Vidya Jadendriya Tahekal Jive Phile Vishesha, you have full faith on the holy name, on the Mahaprasadam. With that understanding, and when you accept it, what happens? Then you can automatically conquer the urges of these 6 things. You can see our very process is automatically kind of qualifying the sadhaka. Chanting. When you are chanting without committing any offense, that is automatically making you free from the concept of me and mine. And all these problems people are having because of the concept of me and mine. When one is offensively engaged in chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is qualifying him to become free from the concept of me and mine. You can see how things are included in our practice. That's a bhakti is complete. It's a complete package. You understand? Okay. So here now, Prabhupada is writing, and maybe you can read, it's not complete translation, it's not here. Can you go to page number 3? Page number 3, in the middle of the page, where it starts with Christians go to church. 1 minute. Did you get everybody?
Similarly, certain Christians go to church.
Page 3. Page 3
Okay, okay, you got it or not? You don't have the book? Okay, just wait for a minute. You see, in every religious group, the sentiment of being afraid of sin is always there. Whether they Islam, they be Christian, they be Hindu, Buddhist, in every religious group, they have this concept of being afraid of sinful activity, right? But the very interesting thing is, these people, they don't have found the solution how to kind of uproot that sinful desires. They have this process. For example, if you see the Christians, if they are not afraid of their sin, then why do they go to church once in a week to confess before the priest? Because they feel whatever bad thing I have committed, unless I go and confess before the priest, I have to suffer for that. And they have this kind of idea. That's why they are going to just confess, but they don't know that just this confession is not helping them to become free from the what do you say, the tendency to commit sin again. But in our case, that is different. That's why Prabhupada is speaking here. Now you can read this. Somebody can read? Similarly, Christian, certain Christians.
Certain Christians go to the church to confess their sins, thinking that confessing their sins before a priest and performing some penance will relieve them from the result of their weekly sins. As soon as Saturday is over and Sunday comes, they again begin their sinful activities, accepting to be forgiven the next Saturday. This kind of prashchitta or atonement is condemned by Parikshit Maharaj, the most intelligent king of this time. Shukdeva Goswami, equal intelligent, as befitting the spiritual master of Maharaj Parikshit, answered the king and confirmed that his statement concerning atonement was correct. A sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity. The real prashchitta atonement is the awakening of our dormant Krishna consciousness.
See, thus real prashchitta or atonement is the awakening of our dormant Krishna consciousness. That means when you have attained knowledge in Krishna consciousness, that is the real prashchitta. If we are not awakened to the platform of Krishna consciousness, that means if we have not attained the knowledge in Krishna consciousness, then there is every possibility of we committing the same mistake again and again. Therefore, in describing this prashchitta atonement process, which is followed by the Christians and others, Prabhupada gives some example. What is that example? You know? Can you tell us?
The elephant goes and takes bath in the river, and then when he comes out again, he rubs himself in the dust.
Yeah.
So it's like, you go to the church every week, tell the priest that I've done this sinful activity, and again, from Monday you start doing, you do sinful activities again. So it's like again.
Yeah. So that means it's of no use, right? The tendency is still there. They don't become by confessing the sin before a priest on regular basis. It doesn't help the performer to become free from the sinful tendencies. Therefore, this awakening of Krishna consciousness is very, very important. Therefore, the real atonement involves coming to real knowledge. Continue, Prabhu, reading from there.
Real atonement involves coming to real knowledge, and for this, there is a standard process. When one follows a regulated hygienic process, it does not fall sick. A human being is meant to be trained according to certain principles to revive his original knowledge. Such a methodical life is described as tapasya. One can be gradually elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness by practicing austerity and celibacy. By controlling the mind, by controlling the senses, by giving up one's possessions in charity, by being avowedly truthful, by keeping clean, and by practicing yoga asanas. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process, simply by following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, and by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord under the directions of the Supreme bona fide spiritual master. This easy process is being recommended by Srila Rupa Goswami.
Okay, you got it? So first of all, Prabhupada said that human being is meant to be trained according to certain principles to revive his original knowledge. And after describing that practice, that people practice celibacy, then giving the charity and all, so forth, tapasya, Then he's saying at the end that if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all the practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process simply by following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. Then he names the four regulative principles. And here also we need to mention about that in addition to following these four regulative principles, we need to honor only Krishna Prasadam on regular basis. Okay, and we should be chanting this holy name of the Lord on regularly. These are automatically included there. Then these practices will qualify the sadhaka to the platform of attaining knowledge in Krishna consciousness. See, like, when somebody will ask, Prabhu, how does it happen that one gains knowledge in Krishna consciousness? It's an automatic process. Our acharyas, they give this example. When you practice it without you knowing, automatically from within, you are becoming purified and the knowledge is being awakened in you. The proof is a new sadhaka, when he starts practicing chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he accepts only Krishna Prasad, he follows four regulative principles. You can see this boy is automatically becoming immune to the external affairs of this age of Kali. He doesn't get interest in all those activities. How does it happen? Because this process is purifying his consciousness. Whether you say he knows big philosophy, whether he can speak big philosophy or not, but the result of big philosophy is already achieved in him. That's how he is in knowledge. Somebody who is born in a Chandala family, if he chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Chandala opi dijoshreshta Hari Bhakti Parayana. Somebody who is born in a Chandala family, if he chants Hare Krishna Mahamantra, he is considered as the topmost of a Brahman, of a Brahman. Chandala opi dijoshreshta Hari Bhakti Parayana. If he is Hari Bhakti Parayana, he is practicing Krishna consciousness. So this is the power. That means even in third canto of Bhagavatam, there's a verse which says that when one takes up the process of Krishna consciousness, he becomes, even if he is born in a very low class family as a Chandala, he is qualified to perform Swadhopi Sadhya Savanaya Kalpate. This is the verse. Swadhopi Sadhya Savanaya Kalpate. Even if he is born in a Swadho, in Chandala family, dog eater's family, still he is qualified to perform Savana Yajna. Means a Brahmana who performs Savana Yajna, this person, this Chandala, born in Chandala family, is chanting Hare Krishna Mantra, he should be respected like a Brahmana who is qualified to perform Savana Yajna. So this is the point, that when you start accepting these principles of chanting 16 rounds on regular basis, following four regulative principles, honoring only Krishna Prasadam, automatically you gain the qualification. That means you are in knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Okay. Anything, any question or comment, whatever you discussed so far? Yes, Prabhu.
Principles. It's very simple. It's the four ranks. Very simple. As it's laid out, no gambling, no intoxication. Or is there are there subtler practices before regular? Are there subtler prohibitions?
There are subtle, especially in illicit sex. We're going to discuss about that. There are subtle ways, 8 ways one can commit illicit sex. We'll discuss about that today. Yes.
I was They're in Christianity. Sunday, they go to the place and they go again doing the community activities.
Mm.
So, and in our Christian consciousness, actually, beyond that process,
Mm.
it's just a curiosity. Is there anything? They have also the process in Christianity, if you study. Like they can go beyond this and continue.
What is that process?
Like they're going Sunday, doing the sin again, going Sunday and confess.
Mm.
I don't know. My question is, do you know anything?
Mm.
Do they have any process? So
If anyone can enlighten me, I have not read Christian in a Bible.
Usually they say like when they do confession, they usually tell them prayers that they should be doing after, to basically another like simple activity that they did. But there might be more to it, like, one who does rosary and such. But most of them are not practicing in this, like, like devotees are, conscious.
yeah, it looks like if they have something like Krishna consciousness.
Oh, don't get misled. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam kalo nasteva 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 bhatyannata. This is not given by me or XYZ. This is the recommendation for us given by Veda Mata. Mother is telling, this is what you should do. They may be chanting, I don't know what they are chanting, what they are doing. I don't want to find out about that also. Why should I get, confused? You don't get distracted, yeah. Our path is very clean and clear. Yeah.
In his submission, he was talking to the Christian for the submission. Just do something. Just do some proactive. Don't just like go and say you're Christian. Do some practice. He was saying, but that doesn't mean that it's an alternative to our process.
No. What Prabhupada meant is, he didn't want to offend, at least something is better than nothing. To kind of, awaken that religious sentiment, they go to church, they pray, okay, we kind of, respect that. Not necessarily that's a compliment to what we practice. That's a kind of pious activity, you can say, yes. The pious activity, what did Prabhupada say? Pious activity? You just read today, right? See, interesting. Prabhupada is saying, a sinful activity cannot be counteracted by a pious activity.
I don't remember exactly, but where like, if you're a Christian, just be a good Christian. If you're this, you be
Yeah.
just that.
Yeah, at least you become pious gentlemen.
Someone to change to something else that they are, because
That purpose is because anyway people are sinful. Okay, you are performing some pious activity. We kind of appreciate that. That's it. Not that we are saying that you should do that. That is the absolute practice. Now, maybe one day what happens is by performing such pious activity, they will come across a devotee, pure devotee of the Lord, and because they have been awakened to the platform of Sapaguna, maybe pious activity means they are yeah. At that time they likely are receptive to Krishna conscious practices.
Okay. If I may add to what Jayaraj said,
Hmm.
or just a little bit correct, Prabhupada was never saying to Christians, be a good Christian. More what he was challenging Christians. There was even like one discussion when one young man said, I'm a Christian. Prabhupada said, immediately he said, you're not a Christian. He was challenging them like it is that you have to follow, you have to stop pushing you. You have challenged the names of the God. Otherwise, don't call yourself even whatever you call yourself. He was challenging them all the time.
this was in a different context. I think it was having to do with more that people like not to convert people to follow this practice, but more that if they are following something, let them follow that. That's what was
Yeah, it's
that's
not
like.
the conversion.
Yes.
That he was encouraging them to follow properly if they want to follow.
Oh yeah,
Like,
but
not
not
if
saying
they were following. He never like encouraged them, okay, you're good. No.
be a good Christian.
Now listen. Prabhupada has dealt differently in different situations with these people. Because there is a situation where you just keep on kind of arguing and finding fault with them, that may backfire on us also. Nowadays, sometimes you have seen some devotees who are not experienced enough, they go and talk bad about them, it backfires on us. So you need to know kind of, to what extent you can, you are clear in your mind. But at the same time, if you are entering into a kind of argumentation, which is kind of creating a bitter situation, what for? These people will never look at you afterwards. They will kind of hate us. So therefore, we don't want to kind of fight you at this point in time. Sometimes time comes, okay, let us sit and discuss. Okay, when it comes to discuss, that kind of discussion, Prabhupada is really, okay, what is this? Yeah. So I mean to say, as a preacher in Krishna consciousness, you need to assess the situation and throw your bullets accordingly. Yeah. 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 Let me tell you, when Prabhupada was in, I think, Iran, and that time they were sacrificing one goat outside, and they were kind of there was some kind of noise outside. So what's going on there? When devotee goes out, they saw they're killing a goat, and they can say, Prabhupada, they're killing a goat. Oh, this is not good. Okay. Then afterward they say, oh, Prabhupada, they are facing the head of the goat towards Makkah. Prabhupada said, oh, this is nice. Means at least there, this much understanding that this is kind of, facing the head of the goat towards Makkah, and this is a kind of pious way of, whatever they say halal meat. Halal meat? Yeah. So, okay, so their sentiment is respected by Prabhupada at that point in time. It doesn't mean that he recommends that, goat killing is allowed and you can, face the goat head towards the Makkah and you can eat meat. No, it's not like that. Don't take it like that. So that is the understanding. Yes, Prabhuji, you wanted to ask something?
This is just off the earlier point. I don't think I understood fully when you're talking about who is it that's already gone past the first verse about controlling the urges. Right? You're talking about how it doesn't qualify to a specific class of people. I didn't quite understand that point.
Actually, those who are in the renouncer of life have accepted Vedanta sannyas. They are supposed to be, above these practices. Means they have already controlled the urges. They are not facing any difficulty with these urges. This is the understanding of Radha Raman Goswami. But we are in Kali Yuga, and we are always being harassed by our desires. Even though outwardly sometimes somebody may be dressed like a sannyasi, he may not be in that situation. Therefore, for us, we should be always focusing on what Prabhu Swami has told us. It's not an excuse. Yes. Non-renunciants, everybody. At this point in time. Okay. Okay. So now, regarding controlling the urges, 6 urges. Okay. So what Prabhupada is speaking about, the controlling the urge to speak. Somebody, what is the meaning that somebody has controlled his speaking urge? How can you say Mr. Ram Babu or Shyam Das has controlled his speaking urge?
Related to Krishna, you don't speak unnecessary talk.
Okay. Yes, good. So he always speaks about Krishna, Krishna Gatha. He's engaged in chanting Krishna's holy name. He is there to glorify the activities of Krishna, so on. And if he is engaged in mundane talk, then what does Prabhupada speak about that? Prajalpa, okay. Then here in he gives an analogy. Prabhupada gives an croaking of a toad.
Yeah. Probably, and will come and will eat me. So calling this next.
So in that way, when a person who is speaking about mundane subject is actually inviting his own death. That's the meaning. Therefore, a devotee in Krishna consciousness always tries to control his speech by talking about Krishna consciousness. Some people, like, if you go to Vrindavan, like when I first went to Vrindavan, that was how many years before? Maybe around 25 or 27 years before. When I first went to Vrindavan, the devotee, he brought me to a sadhu. The sadhu was a Mohan Baba. Mohan Baba means he doesn't speak. Then I said, he doesn't speak. And when I went there, when he wants to speak, what he has to do? He has to tell his assistant, give me the slate. On those days, the slate? Small, square shape.
Graphite.
Yeah.
Graphite slate.
And then he will write on that. So whatever he has to speak, he is not speaking verbally, but he's speaking through his slate. Okay? That is not what is meaning of controlling the speech. And unfortunately, so many people, they have their biased way of interpreting how they have controlled their urge to speak. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Thakur also explains, like, there are so many volumes of literature today, right? This is the passion of speaking, because they cannot speak in public, so they sit in their house, they write whatever comes to their mind. And there are so many foolish people in the market also, they are purchasing those books, those literatures, and they're studying. So these are the speaking urges. But to control these urges, what we need to do? We need to only speak about Krishna. What do you think about it? Huh?
I was thinking, I remember I was thinking, I read what I was reading before, and I was saying, these people, they can't control their to speak, so they're writing, and then there are foolish people with foolishness in the mind.
Okay.
It speaks also from mind. Like, say, I'm listening to the news. A lot of news in the world. And I'm making my assumption and speaking all the time. So those are involved also material things a lot. Take away from the Krishna. But we are trying to listen the world news. So in that case, how, like right now, the devotees in Ukraine, somehow they have to learn the bomb is going to come today in our building. So that is the news.
See,
So this point of time, what they have to do.
No, this is a crisis period. Okay, these are not general life. War situation is an emergency situation. But we are talking in general. When you are not in critical situation, not in challenging situation, how would you like to mold your life so that you have controlled your urge to speak? That's what we are discussing in general now. Okay, Vacho Vegam, then Monosho, the demands of the mind. Prabhupada speak about that in his purport. So let us read from Prabhupada's commentary. Text, page number 5. Can you go to page number 5? Somebody can read from that paragraph, which starts with the restlessness or fickleness of the mind. Maybe somebody else can read. Yeah.
Restlessness or fickleness of the mind, Manavega, is controlled when one can fix his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. The Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22:1 says, Krishna Surya Sama Maya Haya An Akara, Yahan Krishna Tahanani Maya Nipara. Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya is just like darkness. The Krishna is present, there is no question of darkness. Similarly, if Krishna is present in the mind, there is no possibility of minds being agitated by Maya's influence. The yogic process of creating all material thoughts will not help. Trying to create a vacuum in the mind is artificial. The vacuum will not remain. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, one's mind will naturally be controlled.
So,
Like fill up the glass with the water, then there is the
So what are the challenges we face in controlling this Bacha Begum and Mano Begum? What is the challenge?
It's always change.
Just don't talk like this.
Because mind is active,
Mm.
so it's always desiring or thoughts are coming.
Mm.
So I think when thoughts are coming, then you are speaking also. If they are not Krishna conscious thoughts, they are like pain speaking. And when desires are there, like mind is desiring, then you are disturbed, lamentation and all. This is the challenge, that it's always desiring because it's active. I think because the soul is active. Mind is active.
We always have to control the mind. If we don't control the mind, mind is control the intelligence, then we cannot use our life also. Because if we control our mind, then mind will be our servant. Everything if we think about the Krishna, like always think Krishna, then mind cannot control our intelligence. We can use our, bacho, like bhakti, properly. But if we don't control our mind, we are servant for the mind.
Okay, like you are saying the same thing, mind, or probably saying like you can constantly keep on desiring because soul is active. There's a, you want to say something? Okay.
There's a lot of garbage.
Okay. Good. Excellent. Means we three are speaking on the same line. You see, speaking in terms of mind is saying there's a lot of garbage, keep on desiring. Okay, same thing. Now, how to stop this? That garbage doesn't appear again, or we don't keep on desiring. Mind doesn't disturb us again. Like what is the principle you learn here?
Always think about
three levels. One is mind, intelligent, and the good crowd. Third, if we listen to Shastra, which is spoken by Krishna or Padmanayana, then it downwards from there to intelligence.
Okay.
So then our crowd is going to drive the intelligence. The intelligence will drive the mind. The way I'm not going to go this place.
Okay. Prabhu, you said something about garbage. There are a lot of garbage, right? How do you recognize this garbage? How does it appear to you? Yes. So maybe like you have heard of this word called impression. The sanskara have been created in previous time, maybe in this lifetime or sometimes in previous lifetime, and that sanskara reminds us that sometimes appear in form of desires. Sometimes it may be coming as an impression in the mind also. Okay, so now when you are engaged in Krishna conscious activity, that also creates an impression in the mind. The time when you are not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, I mean to say when we are engaged in material activities, that also leaves with us with an impression. Now it is up to us which impression I want to create. If I am creating a material impression which is devoid of Krishna consciousness, then that will also in future going to create some undesirable situation for me. That will be the action of a material mind. On the other hand, if I create an impression in Krishna consciousness, what does it mean? Like Prabhupada is saying here, he's saying that, however, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, one's mind will naturally be controlled. Just before that, you were saying the vacuum will not remain. It's not that, you just, remain thoughtless. Like Gyanis, what do they say? They say this world is horrible. You don't involve in any of these activities of this world. Just sit quiet and empty your mind. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma. There is not even a single moment a soul can remain inactive. It's not possible. You cannot vacuum. Therefore, Prabhupada gave the example. However, if one always thinks of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best, this is how actually we try to create the impression in our mind. What is the meaning of when we serve Krishna? What does it mean?
Krishna,
One person.
okay, serve Krishna, like play a program. We come to the temple, the cooking program, the dishwashing program. So there is going to be an arrangement. So I'll involve myself all day serving devotees, Krishnas, and that's the way I'll be engaged today for serving.
How are you different from the Christian who is just going to a church and confessing before the priest? You are coming here also kind of thinking, oh, just go and wash the dishes or cook something for the Lord. How are you different?
I'll follow in my house also the same way. But I think this is my temple because in my home I do the everyday worship and I read Bhagavatam with my family, teaching my children, thinking them they are Vaishnava also. So when
Okay.
I cook, I think.
Okay, this is one way of doing service for Krishna. Any other way you can serve Krishna? Yes, Prabhu.
Lord to please Krishna, and he should be devoid of changes of
When we are in there, if you read Prabhupada's purport, he says Krishna. Krishna means Krishna, Krishna's devotee, Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna's incarnations. So all these things are included. For example, you are living in this building. This is not a building, right? Is this a building? It is building? But first you said no. What is this? No. I'm serious. What do you say when you said no? That was correct actually. What do you meant by that? See, this is not actually a building in the New York City. This is a resident place of Radha Govinda. Radha Govinda resides in his temple. This is an expansion of Balaram. They don't live in a place where there is no expansion of Balaram. There is Sandhini Shakti. Sandhini Kare Jato Prayojan. So whatever is necessary for the Lord to perform his pastime, everything is provided by Balaram. So this is an expansion of Lord Balaram. Even though you see externally, there's stone, cheese, bricks, sand, and cement, steel. It's okay for us. These are all transcendental because this building is being utilized in Radha Govinda service. That means if you make plan to keep this building clean, if you make plan to keep the dishes clean for Radha Govinda service, if you make a plan to clean that place where today the devotee is going to come and honor Mahaprasadam, you are actually serving Krishna. This is also going to create an impression. What happens? I always keep thinking, why me? There are so many devotees staying in this place and everybody is enjoying. Should I just go and clean this place? No, why are you doing? For my benefit, I am doing. I have got this much time. If I do this thinking, this is what pleases the Krishna most, because Krishna devotee is going to come, they're going to honor Mahaprasadam. So I want to kind of do some service. Who is going to get benefit out of that mood? What is the impression created? No, that time I am thinking this is for the Lord. This is for the service of the Lord's devotee. So that good impression is created here. That means all the garbage is now erased. They don't have any space. If this impression is not created there, good impression in Krishna consciousness, in Krishna service, I'm not making the plan, then other things will come. It's not there. Okay, in Mayapur, we have garden. Devotee is thinking now I have to go early in the morning to the garden to pick a flower. After 8 o'clock, some laborers going to come. I need to engage them properly so that our bushes will produce nice flower days after days. And every day he is getting nice, very colorful, fragrant flower to string garland for Radha Madhav. He's making plan. It is a material activity. This is not material activity. So therefore, Prabhupada has created this organization to give us enough of engagement so that our mind will create this positive impression in Krishna consciousness. And we don't have to fill our mind with garbage. You can see how practical this organization is. The point is, as I said, before you go there, sit. Did anyone chant prayer? It's like, ritual. Okay, now you have chanted the prayer. Okay, now I can start eating Mahaprasada. It's not a question of who has chanted. You chant and you realize what exactly you're going to do now, honoring Krishna Prasadam. So every aspect of our practice is meant to create an impression in our mind. That is how we're going to become free from the urges of these 6 things, including mind. Okay, so therefore, as he says, and that we have to always think of Krishna and how to serve Krishna best. Then anger. Okay. Bread. You need bread. Okay, break with bread. You need a break? Okay, you want to go now? You can go now. I have no problem. Yeah, 5 minutes.
11:40.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly 12 we can be inside.
Okay, till 2 o'clock. Recording. Yes, recording is going on.
That's right. Oh, it used to be like here in the menu. Why is it going?
Yeah.
Oh, this thing. This thing is pause, right?
So far we have discussed the urge to speak and the demands of the mind. Now, the urge of the anger. Similarly, anger can be controlled. We cannot stop anger altogether. But if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord or the devotees of the Lord, we control our anger in Krishna consciousness. Sri Narottam Das Thakur, he has written in his book called Prema Bhakti Chandrika, he says, Kamo Krishna Karmarpane Krodha Bhakta Dveshijane Lobho Sadhu Sange Harikatha. So how to control this kama, krodha, lobha, and other things? So especially when it comes to controlling the anger, it says krodha bhakta deshijane. The anger should be applied in, yes, like Hanuman. What did he do? He burnt out the whole entire city of Lanka, right? Because Ravana was against Ram, and he abducted Sita Mata. So in that way, Bhakta Dveshijane, those who are against the devotees in Krishna consciousness, anger must be placed against them. Otherwise, you cannot, the Prabhupada says, you cannot stop it altogether. But if we simply become angry with those who blaspheme the Lord and his devotees. Then we can control the anger in Krishna consciousness. Never try to become angry with the devotees. Anger is a kind of suppressed desire. When desires are not fulfilled, then we become angry. So on the other hand, when we have not controlled our desires, when we have not purified our desires, then unnecessarily we will sometimes become angry with the devotees also. Therefore, it is very, very essential that we need to purify our desires. Then when we have purified desires, we will not become angry with the devotee. And then if at all there is somebody who is blaspheming the devotees, that time you can become angry with them. Okay, you can use your anger there. So, Kama, Krodha, Vacha Vegam, Manasa, Krodha Vegam, Jivha Vegam. Now these three Vega, Jivha, Udara and Upastha. These three are coming in one straight line. So how do you define the urge of the tongue? How do you recognize? Now I have urge of the tongue. Test means?
And have to sometimes like we want to test some without Krishna Prasad, but we have to control it.
Okay.
We always have to eat the Krishna.
Okay, if you have urge to always go out and eat in the restaurant and other places, then that's the sign that you are suffering from the urge of the tongue. Okay. So any other way you can say? What are the different tests? Oh, maybe, yeah, stealing burfi early in the morning. Prabhu, this is Krishna Prasad. Sometimes, it's allowed. So, okay, now he brought this kind of point. Do you think then, well, tongue or belly, again, like, eating Krishna Prasadam, what do you think? Eating Krishna Prasadam more is allowed? Should be considered as a kind of urge of the belly?
Capacity.
Mm.
If we can digest 4 burpees,
Mm.
then maybe we should. But otherwise, if we do, then of course we become sick.
What's the
In seconds.
But without knowing, have you seen devotees, they kind of overeat, even Krishna Prasad? Unintentionally even. They don't like eating, sitting, eating. Oh, now I have it more. Sometimes it happens.
All the time.
All the time it happens. So this is a sign of belly, right?
Oh, I have one question.
Yes.
That sometimes, this is my question personally, sometimes we do the double, like when snow happens, something we work like 25 hours continue. But sometimes I buy the yogurt from downstairs as a student, the fruits. But if I offer the Krishna, like I have picture in my locker, Prabhupada, my Guru Maharaj, it's okay to take it, even though it's keep things, sometimes they mandate us to stay for warmth.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Yes, please.
Well, yeah, from one side, let's say if we are already thinking this is the urge of the belly of the tongue, but someone may say, well, wait a minute, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was pushing his devotees constantly to overeat with prasadam. They were saying, no, I cannot eat more, and Mahaprabhu was saying, eat more, take more.
So, yeah.
So, like it's completely.
Yeah. So what do you think? Yes. You want to say something?
I think if this is the condition, then it's okay. Because sometimes when I was in Australia one time, my Guru Maharaj said, feed him more when I was eating. That time I think it's okay. But this is not the because then it's coming from Krishna. When Krishna wants you to eat, then it's okay. But otherwise, I think.
I think we need to see the amount what is available.
Mataji?
So there's also the point of like, if one is like, takes more than they actually need, like sometimes they take in their plate so much. They actually, their stomach is, their eyes are bigger than their stomach essentially. So then they overdo it, like in a visual sense, they take more, they don't necessarily consume. So that's another way that the urges of tongue is also.
Yeah. These are the kind of manifestation of the urge of tongue and belly. Either, you feel, oh, I need to taste this sweet item, even though there's only, okay, there are 3 sweet items today. Prabhu, I think, we should taste all 3 sweet items. Then space there, but Prabhu, we need to, enjoy Krishna Prasadam. There are 3 varieties of sweets. 1 cake, 1 rasgulla, 1 sweet rice. What can I miss? These are all 3 different varieties. I need to test all, right? This is maybe a manifestation of the urge of the tongue or belly. Right? So if we don't control this urge of the tongue and belly, what is next? Going to affect on that. This is the consequence. Okay. So now, as a sadhaka, we understand if we have not controlled the urge of the belly and tongue, then it is going to have a reverse effect on the genital. So therefore, it's very, very essential for us. But unfortunately, as we said, like Prabhu is saying, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to feed his devotees, even Prabhupada said, feed them up till their neck. So then that practice becomes a habit. And after spending maybe 20, 30 years in Krishna consciousness, still I'm hankering to eat up to my neck. At the age of 50 also, I'm eating up to the neck. Even the Ayurveda also says, no, after 40, right? You should eat less. So how to overcome this challenge? This becomes a natural thing. As I said, go to the feast, then there are 3, 4 different types of sweets. I'm saying, no, I need to kind of taste all these sweet items. There are 10 different items. Okay, salty item has to be there, sour item has to be there, sweet item has to be there, then bitter item should be there, astringent should be there, pungent items should be, everything should be there, right? So sometimes these are the manifestations of the urge of the tongue or belly. If I am always hankering to taste this rasa, 6 types of rasa. 6 rasas, sweet, sour, salty, bitter, then astringent and pungent. These 6 types of tastes are always bothering my tongue. And belly is also always thinking, no, it's not full. I need to take more. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, eat up to here. So all these challenges are there, and these are actually manifesting in form of the urge of the tongue and belly. So how to control? Yeah. Prabhu, it doesn't help all the time. Good. Yeah, that's one way. Very good. That's one way. Any other way, dear devotees?
Any other way means it could be small or normal portion, but also if it is an arrangement and some food is also there, for if I take is normal even what I take, then it could be short days. So at that moment I have to reduce my desire also to have always agree.
Okay.
If it is available, maybe.
Okay. 1 minute, yes. Fasting and Ekadashi. Good.
How did it help?
For the tongue and belly. That's it.
Everyday basis?
No, he's saying Ekadashi day. If you fast on Ekadashi day, when it says, fasting on Ekadashi day, it says it goes without saying, you need to increase the number of rounds. You need to chant, you need to read, you need to minimize your sleep. These things also should go along with that. Otherwise, You are fasting, you are not eating, then what are you saying? Whole day you are lying on your bed. Okay? Or maybe you are gossiping. No, that kind of fasting will not help. Fasting means chant more, read more, sleepless, basically reducing the requirements of the body. That actually helps. Yes. Yes, Prabhu.
I was just asking how
Okay.
it, I thought only the question is that in general, how you reduce.
Yeah, so these are the different processes we can practice actually. Yes.
Just I remember that Prabhu was saying that like everyone should take according to ends, like an end, but another thing, like if like we are engaged in like some activity that we are depleting the energy, then like we can digest. Because if you're just like nothing, and we eat, and then we are that becomes like a diseases. If we eat a lot, but then we do a lot, then it just burns down. We get used to it.
Very good point. That if we eat more than how much we can digest, then it will accumulate in the body and it will manifest in form of diseases.
Cholesterol, diabetes.
Yeah, a lot of disease is born because of overeating. And these are kind of consciousness to be awakened. But at the same time, also, whatever you all said, this is true. And as I mentioned in the beginning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this Sarira Jal prayer, no? Mahaprasade Govind. You have full faith. And you are not just eating something like food which is available in the hotel. No, you are going to Radha Madhav kitchen, Radha Govind Dev's kitchen, and you are honoring what have been, first of all, offered to Radha Govind. So him, his name, and his Mahaprasadam are all on the Brahman platform. And with full faith, you are honoring that just to survive in this body. Not that you are eating it as a mood of enjoyment. If you have been cultivating that mood while honoring Mahaprasadam, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that also helps us to become free from the urge of the belly and tongue. So, therefore, every day we chant this prayer. Don't just chant half, chant the entire prayer and try to understand the meaning of this prayer before honoring Mahaprasadam. That's also a mode of controlling the urge, the way to control the urges. Okay. And another way of recognizing the urge is that sometimes, not this part of the world very prominent though, but still for the sake of understanding, I can share with you. In India or in Bangladesh, there are a lot of invitations coming to the brahmacharis and sannyasis in the temple. Every day going to this gentleman's house, that gentleman's house, this life member's house, that devotee's house. In Bangladesh, though, every day almost, if you go there, you will have a call from a devotee's house every day. And they will feed you breakfast is like lunch, lunch is lunch, and dinner is also lunch. There's no concept of breakfast, lunch, and dinner. and it's like full lunch. So we have to be very careful on that. If you keep on going to all these invitations and taking 3 lunch a day, that's for sure, that's the sign of the urge of tongue or belly. So we need to kind of recognize where actually it is being manifest in my life. First of all, if you know the disease, then you can find the solution. If you don't know the disease, then you don't know what is the solution. Okay, so these are the way to know, these are the manifestations of the urge of the belly and tongue. Now, this is the way I can control. Yes.
I tried it, Bangladesh. I survived 2 days. So much question.
Right?
You have to be satisfied the devotee because they want to serve you.
I tried for 2 days.
The mother is going to say, hey, I'm all night for you.
Is there for how many days?
We were there 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The first 2 days we were kind of keeping.
Okay. Yeah. I got to. Yeah.
In
In the evening, we said, no, only milk is banana, not really off.
Yeah.
In the morning, just very.
Yeah.
Just a little clarification. For
Yeah.
example, Guruji, this is I'm talking occasionally.
Huh.
Occasionally, Guruji, let's say now you have come to New York and some devotees they call you. They may feed you more than what is your requirement. But really, is it not okay to accept, because when they will feed you, they will get some spiritual credit? I mean, I'm saying
Yeah.
occasionally,
You know,
occasionally
that's
to
what I'm
get-
saying. It's not that if you eat whatever they want to feed you, then only they will get spiritual benefit. If you just go to their house and accept what they have prepared for you with love and devotion, it should be cooked by the devotee, it should be offered to the Lord. And what we are not supposed to eat, even as a prasadam also, like lentil, right? We don't eat. Oh, Prabhu, this is good for health, you should eat it. No. So in that way, when even if occasionally, like we have seen our senior devotees, they go to the house, whatever they need, they just eat that. And they can tell, look, my health is not permitting me, I cannot eat more. And they also understand, we should understand our body limit. Otherwise, unnecessarily, we are inviting trouble to ourselves. But as far as getting benediction is concerned, if the senior devotee is visiting to a grihastha's house, and that itself is a kind of benediction. Because Janti Vaikriha, so Sukadeva Goswami says, just by entering into the house of a householder, they purify the very house, because that is the power of a pure devotee. They are honoring Mahaprasad, but then, when they go there, they have to wash their feet, they have to give a nice place to sit on. Then, there are some other activities also goes by. After prasadam, there should be some dakshina. These are all the kind of, things goes with treating a sadhu at home. That is how they get the blessing. Sadhu doesn't necessarily have to eat more than what he can digest, what is necessary for his body. That's like okay. So, manasa krodha vegam, jivha vegam, udara upastha vegam. So, here, upastha vega. How do you define upastha vega? Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Thakur, he defines it in two ways. One way is the desire of the genital, the urge of the genital is there, but it can be utilized in procreating Krishna conscious child. If not, then it may be used otherwise. So therefore, in our society, we always recommend to lead a Krishna conscious grahastha life. How does it happen? That means they follow the Vedic tradition to go through the proper marriage system. And when they go through the proper marriage system, what does it mean? That means on a particular day, the priest is going to come, they're going to prepare the yajna kunda, they'll perform some ceremony, then the groom and bride will sit near the yajna kunda, they will chant some mantra. Then the meaning is like this: I'm taking her hand to protect her for the rest of her life. And she also understands, as a wife, I'm the Ardhangini. Ardhangini means better half of the husband. And then if I am helping my husband in executing the household activities in terms of taking care of the children, maintaining the house properly, and so on, feeding the husband and other family members with proper consciousness, this is my dharma, stri dharma. And because she is helping the husband in doing all these activities, then husband also feels obliged to give her Krishna consciousness like a guru. Then in that way, that makes a proper grihastha ashram. At that time, they are not accepting each other as an instrument to gratify their senses. Rather, they understand here is a Vaishnava, here is a Vaishnavi, and our relationship is centered around Krishna. So that is one way to control the urge of the genital, which is very much recommended in our society, because we have in our society where we have brahmachari, grahastha, manapata, sannyasi, so in grahastha ashram like that. But in other ashramas, the genitals should be utilized just to clean the body, because there are a lot of intoxicant items are produced in the body that should flush out. So that is the point where everything should come out from the body. So renunciant, they use it for keeping this body healthy, not for any other purpose. So in that understanding should be very clean and clear. Then we grow in Krishna consciousness by controlling these urges. Okay, so I think any question or comment?
I have one question.
Mm.
When fasting the Ekadashi,
Mm.
we don't eat grain
Mm.
during fast Ekadashi, but they have like Mahaprasad Govinde.
Mm.
They have one like Shaprasad or Nadila Bhat.
Mm.
So that time, that day we don't eat
Mm.
So what do I have to do?
We don't chant that, no. In Ekadashi day, we don't chant the full mantra. Sometimes they say Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmani Vaishnave Vishwas Naiva Jayate Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. You have heard that, right? Yeah.
So we can do that or no?
This is how.
Just Krishna Chaitanya.
This is how we do.
Oh, after that.
Yeah. Okay.
One question actually. Prabhupada, in the purport, he says that there is no need for prashchitta. The real prashchitta atonement is the awakening of a dormant Krishna consciousness.
Mm.
This shouldn't be taken as like we don't have to. We are trying to become Krishna conscious, but we are also committing sins along the way.
Mm.
I cannot say like, oh, when I become fully Krishna conscious, then I will atone for my sins. I want also ask for forgiveness along the way.
Mm. That is offense. That you're talking about offense. But regarding like sins, like for example, there are 5 places where we commit sin as a grahastha. Where? When you are sweeping the floor, there are so many insects are being killed. We go cooking. We're preparing pest masala and all, grinder. Okay. Then nowadays people don't use those, like they prepare the grain like husking point. And then you have like a water pot. Okay. So these are the different places, 5 different places where you actually commit sin. It's called Panchasuna. To become free from, there is also some kind of recommended process. But we in Krishna consciousness movement, we don't follow those things. What do you do? You cook for Krishna. You are lighting fire, not for yourself. You're lighting fire to cook for Krishna. Okay? We have kept water for Krishna only. And you accept it as a prasada. So in that, what happens? Your very life is a life of Krishna consciousness. You can say, actually, we are not supposed to commit any sin in that. If you lead a life of full Krishna consciousness, then there's no question of committing any sin. Because anything you do for Krishna. That is what the life of a devotee is supposed to be. But if you say prayaschitta, what prayaschitta you want to do for what? Where you are committing sin, tell me.
Like when we are angry, then we ask for forgiveness from the other person.
That we are talking about often. That is not papa.
Even if we
You see, when you become angry at someone, that means you have hurt him. Even Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, To bear bad feeling towards another devotee is also a kind of offense. Can you imagine such subtle thing? To bear bad feeling towards others, that's also an offense. So because he is hurt, even if he is not hurt, you are bearing the bad feeling, that's also kind of coming as a reaction for committing sin, sorry, committing offense. So when you are offending, of course you have to. There is no choice. That is not atonement. That's a kind of, you are going to beg forgiveness, and that is must. Otherwise, your growth in Krishna consciousness is stunted.
Regarding one thing you said, that wonderful point, that if we even bear bad feelings against someone in our heart, then it's an offense. Prabhuji, like they say in Kali Yuga, unless you have done some action, it is not an offense. So what do you think about it?
I don't know. Bhaktivinoda Thakur here said, I would just follow this Bhaktivinoda Thakur. See, Sadhu Guru Shastra. Okay. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, if you bear bad feeling towards other, it's also an offense. What is offense? It's an action of mind, actually. If you talk from that perspective, bearing bad feeling towards other, where it is happening? The mind. It's action of the mind. So you are committing some offense in that way. Especially when it comes to a Vaishnava. Vaishnavas are they're called Vishnu Jana. They are the members of Lord Vishnu. So in that way, there is no question of even thinking, having bad feeling towards those elevated souls. That's a kind of extreme situations. That these are kind of, you can say, this is not coming in principles, outside of principles, that you need to know that this is very serious about offense.
If I give any offense like that in past, now I understand.
You should go and beg pardon from them. That's why offense is very, very serious. Yeah, in Krishna consciousness, actually, our devotees' greatest problem is this offense. That is the, we should be very much, afraid or fearful of this situation. We should not commit offense at any cost, at any situation.
Prabhu Goswami wrote one story when the man was hanging in February. He invited everybody in the neighborhood because his brother Sanatana Goswami told him to invite. Let's see who doesn't come to invitation, that you think that you don't. But he did not do any offense, but he was laughing when that man was hanging.
No, he was laughing because Krishna was, it's a different pastime. Okay, so can you open your handbook? Read the question, open book question.
Oh, this is the book.
Handbook, open book question.
No,
Okay, we can
Got the question. Open book question, essay question.
Right here.
Okay, you can read that question, Prabhuji.
Discuss the importance of controlling the 6 urges as described in Sri Upeta text 1. What practical steps are you taking to control these 6 urges?
Okay. Did you get some point from this discussion today?
Yes.
Did you cover that?
Yes.
Cover that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Give appropriate reference to Sri Upeta text 1, verse and purport in your response.
Yeah. So like, how Prabhupada described the different urges, like urge of the speech, anger, belly, tongue, genitals. So he has sometimes given some analogy. So you have to refer to those analogies from the book. And then the, solution, the challenges, how you can kind of overcome those urges. So all these things, whatever we have discussed, you are now free to write this essay also. Then before the end of this program, your essay is complete. You need to write only one essay. You can write this essay. Okay, you have got full 1 month now to complete. And anytime you want to ask, every time I'm coming to class, you are stuck somewhere, I'll help you. You got it? Yeah, you can write. This is covered.
600 words essays.
Yeah.
If I write only one of these, it should be like, do I have to write all these 8?
No, only one, only one question. I am saying why I know the disease of the devotees. What they do is till the last moment, yes, then they'll not, then teaching is over, teacher is gone, everything is done, still they are pending, hanging on with this essay. I don't want this to continue like that. That's why I'm saying, okay?
Now, this case, Prabhu, we have to explain the 6 of them.
Yeah.
Then we can use the example 2, 3 of them each.
Yeah. But don't exceed the word limit, 600 words. Maximum, yeah. Okay, you can go up to 800. Maximum, we don't say that. Sometimes it goes a little more, but 600 is limit. Since you're asking such a blunt question, that's why I have to be also very blunt in my response. Not that if you're going to like 700, we'll kind of reject it. But
so is that you giving us only one category taught and you say, but in that whole course you have to write one essay.
Yeah.
But you will go in future like second mantra, third mantra, fourth mantra.
I'll not ask you any more questions then.
So
Yeah. If you write the response to this question, then done, you're done. I am very simple.
I wanted to ask about offenses. If we harbor bad feelings towards the devotees, should we also beg forgiveness?
Better too. In that way, your mind is crystal clear, clean.
And then how to avoid our mind from developing bad feelings.
When you confess, it will automatically kind of go away. Because what happens is, our ego is very high. And sometimes ego does not allow, it doesn't come up on the surface. It doesn't want actually. We don't allow. But if kind of we voluntarily go and take it out, then our ego is smashed. Nobody knows like that I am creating a bad feeling towards you. Who knows? Only my ego knows. Nobody knows. It's because of my ego only. And then if I go out and talk, then that's when ego is smashed. That is how you are kind of being protected for future threat. And you should know that, not that it in one go, you will be totally freed from this propensity. It takes few times because we have been loitering and carrying these kind of impressions for lifetimes, not lifetime, lifetimes. Therefore, sometimes it can be very strong, and to come to a realized platform that I should not bear a bad feeling, it requires a continuous kind of, chastisement to my ego by once, twice, maybe thrice. Then one day it will be realized in my heart. And of course, hearing from the senior Vaishnavas again and again about the importance of practicing Krishna consciousness with a clean mind. What is my goal? What am I going to achieve? If I continue like this, what are the challenges? What are the hindrances I am going to face in my growth in Krishna consciousness? When we are being reminded constantly about this, then again you go and beg pardon, then slowly it will be a gradual process actually. It will minimize, means maybe before every time you are kind of getting agitated and committing offense. Then after some time you will see if you are kind of begging pardon from them, after some time you will see that intensity is reduced, not gone totally. You can see that. Then again you kind of practice. Then after some time you will see it will be gone. It's a hard process. Like this is an austerity actually. In Kali Yuga, we are not asked to go to a secluded place, sit alone, and don't eat. We don't recommend such kind of austerities. Our austerity is following four regulative principles. If anyone who has followed four regulative principles successfully, he is a big tapasvi. If he has successfully recognized his faults and gone to the other Vaishnavas to beg pardon from them, he is also a successful tapasvi. This is our tapasya in this age of Kali. If somebody has taken only and only Krishna Prasadam, that is also a tapasya. Believe me. There are many devotees who go outside just eat in the restaurant also, even in our organization. That's why these are all tapasyas. But you can see these tapasyas are not so difficult, right? If one just agrees to accept, it can very easily be performed. This is why Kali Yuga is very, very, it's a benediction. Kali. Kusala nyasu siddhanti netarani kirtani jat. There's a Maharaj Parikshit, he did not chastise. He found there some good qualities in this personality, Kali. Okay, so I'm done with my first class today. So tomorrow we'll do the class, or when? If it is online, okay.
Discuss later.
Worship Prabhu. Next,
Yes, that's the.
next under the Nishna Chaturdashi.